to thank you for something that you said last week. You and I may not agree on a tremendous amount, but last week you were interviewing Trump about the health care bill he's supporting, now moving through Congress, and you pointed out that its centerpiece was a massive tax cut for the rich, for investors making more than $250,000 a year, and that the other side of the coin was millions of people who are going to actually lose their health care coverage.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the tax cut's the centerpiece of it, but it's certainly a component of it, and I think it's an odd place. It's an odd place to put the tax cut, in my view. Yeah, as I put out. But hold on, I mean, I appreciate that, Joe. Well, let me ask you about the judge here, and I'm sure there are always things I agree with people on.
Yeah, and let me tell you why I bring up that.
I'm sure you have lots of reasons for bringing that up, but let me get to the meat of why I want to talk to you, which is about the Supreme Court nomination. Now, I'm sure you don't agree with a lot of the beliefs that the judge has, but the core question is, can he interpret the Constitution faithfully? So I'm going through your materials to figure out what exactly your problem is with this guy, and I get to this. This is a letter that you all sent, your party sent to Democratic members of the Senate at the beginning of this month, and you said here, he has, quote, an extreme ideological agenda supported by some of the most dangerous, ultra-conservative, and white nationalist groups. Now, what does that even mean?
I think that this means that Gorsuch is somebody who's shown through his long record that every act that he's taken, whenever he's given the chance between siding with a corporation or a working class person, every single time he's picked the other side than I would have picked. I don't know if you were following this case.
Wait, back up here. So you said white supremacist organizations. I mean, you have every right to disagree with his decisions, but you're trying to tar him with the brush of white supremacy. And my question is, on the basis of what evidence did you say that?
Gorsuch is, Trump has this Muslim ban he keeps trying to pass. It's been swatted down by judges twice. And the Supreme Court is just one justice away from somebody who will overrule those lower court decisions and make a Muslim ban the law of America. I thought America was a land that believed in religious freedom for all people, and I haven't heard Gorsuch forcefully denounce a Muslim ban. Have you?
So because Gorsuch hasn't come out during the nomination process, I think this is what you're saying, during his own nomination process and attacked Trump's travel ban, you call him a white supremacist?
I mean, Tucker, I think
that's so
one of the
unfair. It's hard to believe you're actually saying that.
It's one of the core questions of public policy right now, is whether or not our country is one that it has a place for people of all religions, or whether Trump can be allowed to pass a Muslim ban. And until
But Judge Gorsuch is about to sit for 4 days, he began today, of his hearings where he can be asked that. But the idea that because he hasn't come out and said anything about it, and by the way, a Supreme Court justice's job is not to formulate public policy, it's to interpret the Constitution, as you know. It's not to make laws.
That's right.
It's to determine whether they're constitutional or not. So,
and he hasn't,
so because
he's fallen way short of the standard of saying
okay, but hold on. That may be right, but you tried to tie him to white supremacists. And I just want you to concede that whatever one can say about him or his record, that is an unfair thing to say, and you shouldn't say things like that unless you have reason for saying them, and you don't.
I think that short of him denouncing Trump's Muslim ban, he comes pretty close to that line.
So my children haven't denounced Trump's Muslim ban. Are they white supremacists too? Is that the standard?
I think that there are a lot of problems with the nomination of Gorsuch. He's somebody who, whenever given the choice...
You said something appalling and unfair. Just concede it and let's move on. How's that?
Let's move on.
Okay. I wish you would concede it. I think our viewers understand, and you understand, that you did something that's indefensible, and I'm sorry that you did. But I want you to get to the court. Look, your point is that he's against working people, right?
That's right. I think whenever given the choice to choose between a corporation and a working person, he chooses the wrong side. I don't know if you followed this case that he was a judge on with a truck driver going through Illinois. I think it was raised in the hearings
who had to abandon his truck. That's correct.
Yeah, a truck driver had to pull over, and the brakes on his trailer were frozen on a freezing cold sub-zero day. To protect his own safety, maybe even to save his life.
Right.
He disconnected his trailer, drove away to safety. In the end, his employers fired him for doing that, and the court sided with the worker on that, sided with the truck driver. But Gorsuch said that the only way he could have protected his job was to sit in a freezing cold sub-zero truck, potentially risking his life. So think about, Tucker, what would you have done sitting in that truck?
You're actually missing this. I'm not sure you understand what the Supreme Court is or how it works. I agree with you. Every person watching agrees with you. Every person in this country of 330 million agrees. You shouldn't be fired for leaving a freezing cold truck.
Well, Gorsuch doesn't agree with that, does he?
No, that's not true. Gorsuch's job is to interpret the law as passed by the Congress, not the court. The court does not make laws, the Congress does.
I understand
And
that.
if the action is consistent with the law, which is itself consistent with the Constitution, there's nothing he can do about it.
Well,
that's what the job is. Do you understand that?
It's a pretty funny version of the job where every time he's asked to make a decision, he always chooses the side that favors corporations or favors the powerful.
Why aren't you complaining to your friends up in the Senate, the ones you're writing letters to about white supremacy? Why don't you say, hey, pass a law protecting people whose trucks break down in the
the
snow?
court actually sided with the truck driver in that case. But it's a funny thing about Gorsuch's record that whenever
specific, okay, but in that specific decision, as
or
you know,
there's another
Democrats
case. There's
who
another
sided
case
with Gorsuch because it's a question of interpreting the law. The same with the Hobby Lobby case, in which
the Hobby Lobby case, where he said that the right of corporations' religious beliefs are more important than the person who works there.
You haven't read the decision, have you? Because he did not. I have it right in front of me. He's talking about the Green family that owns Hobby Lobby, not the corporation, and he said that their religious beliefs were sincere, and you may find them repugnant. He says that in the decision. He said, all you need to know, though, is that they're sincere, and therefore they're protected by the Religious Freedom Restoration Act of 1993. That's the point.
Wouldn't you think that if Judge Gorsuch was just interpreting the law as an even-handed observer, he might sometimes, somewhere in that career, have found an opportunity to side with the less powerful, side with the working person, instead of with the powerful corporate interest?
Well, actually,
the reason, Tucker, the reason I pointed out that
he did side with the less powerful person. The Greens, as you know, are reviled by all fashionable people, including you and Hollywood and Hillary Clinton. No, I'm just saying, if you were to do a poll of people making over $250,000 a year and ask them, are you sympathetic to Hobby Lobby in this case or to the federal government? I bet it'd be 90-10 to the federal government. There's no more unfashionable person than the plaintiffs in this case.
Tucker, I'm not talking about fashion. I'm talking about who has the power to fire who. And if you think that the employers and the CEOs are the less powerful people in a comparison with the people who work for them, then I got news for you. You got to
I don't think that. I'm merely saying that
they're not as fashionable.
That these disparities are addressed in the legislative branch. We pass laws. That's what democracy is. You vote for people to pass laws. If you don't like something, you change it through legislation. That's the whole system. But you don't want to bother doing that, and so you try to put judges in who will do what you want, affect the outcome you desire. And that is not constitutional, but it's also anti-democratic. It doesn't give people a chance to vote on this stuff.
No, I don't think that's right. I think that when you have a person who every single time they're asked to make the choice chooses the side of the corporation, he's somebody who thinks that the huge unlimited amounts of money that are currently flooding our electoral system are not enough. And the reason I connected this to healthcare up at the top of the segment is because I think it's part of a pattern where you see the Trump administration and their appointees over and over again siding with the wealthy and powerful at the expense of everybody else, whether it's their desire to roll back reforms on Wall Street, whether it's their desire
Joe, I just lived through 8 years of the most massive wealth disparity buildup in my lifetime under the Obama administration, where the overwhelming majority of the spoils went to the top 1%.
And Trump wants to make it worse. I was protesting it.
By the way, if he does make it worse, I'll be the first to complain. But I wish he'd complain when that.
I'll be emailing to find out about that one when you complain about the transfer of wealth up, because that's every single thing that Trump has proposed so far.
Yeah, we'll see. Joe, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much.